and welcome back to Tea in the Deep Blue Sea with me, Victoria. So today's video I would like to cover a really important topic, ocean or marine conservation. There are a number of topics I would like to cover throughout this video. What ocean conservation actually is, why it is important, the 3 crises currently facing our ocean and what you can do to help. Thank you very much for clicking on my video. If you are new, please consider subscribing and remember to hit that bell for notifications to be notified when I next post a video. If you like this video or learned something new, why don't you like and comment down below what you have learned. I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much for watching and I hope you enjoy. Cheers. What is ocean conservation? Ocean conservation is the protection of marine species and ecosystems in the oceans and seas around the world. It's not just about protecting underwater species, populations and habitats, it's also about looking at reducing harmful human activities such as overfishing, pollution, whaling and habitat destruction. Why is it important? I would like to begin this section with a quote. It is a curious situation that the sea, from which life first arose, should now be threatened by the activities of one form of that life. But the sea, though changed in a sinister way, will continue to exist. The threat is rather to life itself. Rachel Carson. I think the Marine Conservation Institute worded this best. The ocean is the largest ecosystem on Earth and it's the planet's life support system. The ocean is essential for all life on Earth, including humans. To ensure a sustainable future, we must protect and preserve healthy marine ecosystems. The ocean is important for all life on Earth. Ecosystems and marine species must be preserved and protected. As well as being a tremendously helpful resource to us as human beings, the ocean is something that should exist. Not just because it sustains us, but because every living organism there has its own right to exist. However, I would like to briefly talk about what the ocean does for us. Marine species may produce more antibiotics and anti-inflammatory medicines than land-based organisms, alongside inspiring aerodynamic, architectural, robotic and biomedical designs. As well as this, 50 to 80% of the world's oxygen is produced by phytoplankton. At least every second breath we take is from the ocean. The ocean is the largest carbon sink on Earth, sequestering up to 50 times more carbon than the Earth's atmosphere. This is done with the help of kelp forests that are essentially the ocean's equivalent of trees. They absorb carbon dioxide and nitrogen compounds, helping clean the atmosphere while capturing up to 20 times more carbon per acre than land forest. This doesn't mean we should forget about land forests. Deforestation of these actually adds to climate change and damages our ocean. Ocean ecosystems provide us with a variety of resources. 1/5 of the world's animal protein comes from the ocean. Ocean ecosystems also contain ingredients used in medications, treatment and scientific research. Numerous cancer-fighting drugs have come from coral reefs. With nearly 80% of our oceans being unexplored or unmapped as of 2021, there is still a lot we don't know about them. Ocean currents distribute heat across the globe, which keeps weather and temperature at ideal levels, as well as absorbing over 90% of the heat and around 30% of carbon dioxide emissions produced by humans. Without this heat being trapped by the ocean, the average surface temperature of Earth would be around 50 degrees C, halfway to the boiling point of water. So now that you know what ocean conservation is and why it's important, I would like to look at the 3 major crises affecting our ocean. These are climate change, biodiversity loss, and plastic pollution. Although plastic pollution is the visible face of our damage, there is a lot more going on than meets the eye, and that is what I want to talk about. So, climate change. What is climate change? Climate change is the long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns. Human activities have been the main driver of this since the 1800s, the Industrial Revolution. There are 3 main impacts of climate change on our oceans: rising sea level, ocean acidification, and an increase in sea surface temperature, ocean warming. So what are all of these things and how does that affect us? Sea level rise. Sea level rise refers to the rapid increase of the global sea level, which is the average level of the Earth's ocean, the level of the sea surface. So the sea level has been increasing at an alarming rate due to two main effects of climate change: thermal expansion and melting of the ice caps and glaciers. So thermal expansion. This is caused by seawater absorbing unnaturally high levels of heat from the Earth's atmosphere. As this happens, the water molecules start to vibrate faster and become less dense, taking up more space, leading to the expansion of the water from the ocean. Melting of the ice caps and glaciers. As temperatures rise, the ice caps and glaciers begin to melt, causing water to flow into the ocean, contributing to the rising of the sea level. For coastal communities, the impacts can be devastating. The main threats arising from this include erosion, flooding, marine pollution, habitat loss and fragmentation, heavy rains and strong winds, and loss of land area due to flooding. Ocean acidification. Ocean acidification is where CO2 that is present in the atmosphere is absorbed by seawater. Chemical reactions take place and reduce the pH of seawater, the concentration of carbonate ions, and the total amount of calcium carbonate minerals. The decrease in pH means the ocean has become more acidic. So the excessive amount of carbon dioxide is released by natural and anthropogenic forms. As industry grows, human activity has become the major cause of CO2 emissions. The three main human activities that cause this are burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial processes. The impacts: depletion of food sources, loss of food security, reduction in coastal protection through loss of corals, and billions of dollars from the tourism industry lost annually. Why would you want to go and see something if there's nothing there? Calcium carbonate is what hard corals need to produce their skeletons, so it's harder for them to make their skeletons. They are not as strong, they have a lower survival rate, which means they are less protection against storms and cyclones as they act as a natural defence barrier. Ocean warming. Ocean warming, caused by the presence of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, is where the ocean absorbs large amounts of heat from the atmosphere, causing the water, especially the sea surface, to become warmer. This poses a threat to numerous marine organisms that are not adapted to the high temperatures. The ocean has a high capacity for heat absorption, which protects terrestrial ecosystems and life forms from experiencing faster changes in the climate. In recent years, scientists have discovered that all parts of the ocean, from the sea surface to the deepest zones of the ocean, are affected by greenhouse gases. The ocean has absorbed over 90% of the heat from greenhouse gases caused by human activities in the last 50 years. The impacts: mortality of marine organisms, ice caps melting leading to habitat fragmentation. If global warming continues at this growing pace, scientists suggest that by 2040 the Arctic sea ice could disappear during the summer months. And stronger and more frequent storms, which may become intense hurricanes and cyclones. The sea surface, down to around 76 metres, absorbs most of the gases from the atmosphere. This warms at a much faster rate compared to other areas. This is a major threat to the marine environment, with many organisms, from whales to plankton, living in this area. The majority of marine organisms aren't able to quickly adapt to fluctuating ocean temperatures, leading to a higher probability of mortality, alteration in their distribution and migration patterns, loss of breeding areas, and the inability to develop and grow properly. The rising sea temperatures are causing the ice caps to melt. Not only does this add to the rising sea level, but it can lead to habitat fragmentation. Many organisms like polar bears, seals, and marine birds are not able to find refuge, hunt, or reproduce. Warmer ocean temperatures also affect climate patterns, leading to stronger and more frequent storms. This is a problem for both marine life and humans, with a potential increase in both human and wildlife mortality. The second major crisis affecting the ocean is biodiversity loss. So what is biodiversity? The Oxford Dictionary defines biodiversity as the variety of plant and animal life in the world or in a particular habitat, a high level of which is usually considered to be important and desirable. What this means is biodiversity is the rich variety of life on Earth, and this is essential for the process that supports all life on Earth. Biodiversity supports ecosystem services. These are divided into 4 groups: provisioning, regulating, supporting, and cultural. Provisioning services are products we harvest directly: fish, meat, corn, wheat, nuts, berries, and honey. Also natural medicine, genetic resources, and biochemicals, which are very important in pharmaceuticals and for animal and plant breeding. Regulating services, services that contribute to human well-being: hazard regulating. Extreme floods can be reduced by ecosystems. Mangroves are effective buffers against sea level changes. Pollination, 80% of flowering plants are pollinated by animals. And climate regulation, carbon absorbed by forests impacting temperature and precipitation. Supporting services, these provide basic infrastructure to life. Creation, production of new living material is called primary production and is a supporting service. Photosynthesis, producing oxygen. Nutrient recycling, breaking down of organic matter in soils, contributes to soil fertility and allows things to grow, as well as the water cycle. Then we have cultural services, which are non-material benefits: recreation, tourism, research, education, aesthetics. Pleasure from the beauty of the landscape, positive benefits for both mental and physical health, also highly valued cultural references. So we know biodiversity does a lot for us. So this helps us to understand why biodiversity loss is so important. Loss of biodiversity is the loss of our entire support system. This can lead to lack of food and clean water, loss of medicines, as well as flooding and extreme weather. So the last of the three major crises is plastic pollution. Most of us have seen these images, the truly heartbreaking images that display the plastic pandemic that is going on around us. Some as recently as 2020, where many more disposable single-use products have been used and discarded of inappropriately, leading to a variety of wildlife being endangered. Every minute, the equivalent of a truckload of rubbish enters the ocean. There is so much rubbish in the sea that huge masses have formed, one of these being the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, that is 6 times larger than the UK. This is estimated to contain 1.8 trillion pieces of rubbish, some of which is over 50 years old. These staggering numbers aren't the only problem. 70% of the rubbish in the ocean sinks to the sea floor. Plastic has even made it to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, the deepest point in the ocean. In 2017, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation estimated that by 2050 there would be more plastic in the oceans than fish. One big issue is microplastics. So what are microplastics? Microplastics are tiny fragments of plastic less than 5 millimeters in length. Plastic doesn't go away, it breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces, creating microplastics. Microplastics are a big problem as they are ingested at multiple levels of the food chain, building up to toxic levels in apex predators. There is even a risk they can end up in the food that we eat. When ingested, microplastics can block the gastrointestinal tracts of organisms or trick them into thinking they don't need to eat, leading to starvation. Many toxic chemicals can also adhere to the surface of plastic, and if these contaminated microplastics are ingested, this could expose organisms to high concentrations of toxins. Now I have addressed what the 3 big crises facing the ocean are, I would like to talk about what you can do, the conservation conversation. There is not only one way to do conservation. So the ways you can help with plastic pollution: say no to plastic straws, use reusable shopping bags, take a water bottle or reusable coffee cup with you, say no to single-use plastics such as plastic cutlery, dispose of waste properly, get involved in a beach clean, and tell everyone you know, as well as stay up to date with plastic pollution initiatives. Another way of reducing pollution is following the 5 R's of zero waste living. So refuse, learn to say no to things you don't need. Reduce, donate or sell, let go of things that are no longer of use. Reuse, switch disposable items for reusable and permanent alternatives. Recycle, sort your waste correctly and minimise what you send to landfill. And rot, compost your own household waste or take part in a composting programme for organic waste. Here are some other ways you can help. Cycle, walk or use public transport where you can. Don't charge electrical devices overnight. Turn lights off if you aren't in a room. You can also switch to LED bulbs. Set your washing machine to a colder temperature. This will also make your clothes last longer. Eat less red meat, or even try a plant-based diet. Consume local and seasonal products. Only eat sustainably caught fish. Check out the Good Fish Guide. Turn your heating down by 1 degree C. Select energy efficient products. Buy responsibly made items. Look out for an eco logo. Take a staycation rather than flying 1 year. Sign petitions. Write to your local MP, and also volunteer. These are just a few of the ways that you can help. There are a number of books and internet resources dedicated to this topic. I would like to thank you all for joining me in this exploration of ocean conservation. Your support really means a lot to me. Thank you very much for sticking through to the end. I hope you've learned something new. If you did like this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and comment down below. And if you aren't already, subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye for now. Cheers.